Good morning, friends. Welcome to another online service here at UU Catskills. I'm Catherine Catabiani, a member of the UU Catskills Worship Committee, and our minister is the Reverend Bob Janice Dillon. But this morning, we have a special guest, the Reverend Dr. Jane Blackall from London. Next Sunday, we're back in the sanctuary with Reverend Bob, and then after that, the Encanto Festival. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious faith that carries no creed and welcomes all seekers. We live by our principles on a daily basis. At UU Catskills, we affirm Black Lives Matter. We're a welcoming congregation for members of the LGBTQ community. We are a congregational affiliate for the Ulster Immigrant Defence Network, and we have active voices in the effort to address climate change. Our sanctuary is built on Lenni Lenape ancestral land. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're asking you to stay muted. If you're new, welcome. We encourage you to visit our website at uucatskills.org. And if you'd like to be on the mailing list, you can add your email there. We do have a request from our guest. Pen and paper or some other writing material for noting your thoughts during the service. There's no expectation of sharing, but you will be invited to note something down as a reminder for yourself toward the end of the homily. This week's activities, for the activities, be sure to read the weekly update and the summer newsletter, which will be coming out soon. Here's another request. Have you had a spiritual epiphany, a road to Damascus moment? Vicki O'Doherty is building a service in August around your stories. Please contact Vicki with your tale. Information is in the weekly update. We want to thank Don Critchell for being our tech host this morning. After the service, after the postlude, that piece of music that will help to bring us back home, we encourage you to stay connected for breakout rooms where we can have our virtual coffee and socialize. Visitors are welcome. And here's something interesting. Please don't use the chat function during the service. We have found that for some enigmatic reason, it interferes with the playing of videos. Our guest this morning, the Reverend Dr. Jane Blackall, is a ministry coordinator with Kensington Unitarians at Essex Church in London, UK. That's not London, Connecticut. That is Great Britain. She is the long-standing organizer of the Hucklow Summer School, which she was referring to earlier, an annual residential week for Unitarian adult religious education, and is an enthusiast for small group ministry and the exciting possibilities that doing church online has opened up. In her spare time, she enjoys bird watching, gardening, and watching cycling from the comfort of her armchair. So let us now enter into a sacred time and space.
To this gathering, we come bringing our boldest dreams, seeking here the inspiration and strength to make them a reality. To this space, we come carrying our broken dreams too, to be sustained and held tenderly through times of pain. New way onward. We come here in search of meaningful human contact, hoping for warmth and closeness and care. Needing to grow beyond the commonplace, we may seek here challenges and commitments productive of greater wholeness and deeper meaning. We come intense and constructed, cautious and defended, hoping for encouragement to open up, to flourish and be our true selves. Wrestling with self-doubt, uncertainty, perhaps even despair, we seek affirmations prodding us to say yes to ourselves and to this life. Somehow we, all of us, enter this space trusting that what happens here will enable us to co-create, to let in a little taste of life's goodness here and now. A strange space indeed this is, one where we may cry and sing and laugh, hurt and touch and survive and celebrate, grow, doubt and search and hope, rejoice and pray and trust, learn and think and care and wonder, be and become. This morning to this sacred space we've come. These opening words welcome all those who've gathered here on Zoom this morning to take part in this Sunday service. Thank you for inviting me to lead worship with you. Hope each and every one of you finds a little something of what you need in this gathering. I'm joining you from London, UK today, as we've already mentioned. I do come along to your services from time to time when I can, because your minister, Bob, is a dear friend of mine. Today's service is titled Dare to Dream. In the next hour, we will be exploring the power of dreaming boldly, of imagining that life and the world could be radically different and radically better than it is today. Before we go any further, let's take a moment to really settle ourselves, to become fully present here and now in this precious hour of peace, wherever we are. Perhaps put down anything you don't need to be holding, perhaps scrunch up your shoulders and let them go. Let's take a moment to breathe into this worshipful hour. We co-create this sacred space by our presence and intention. So let's try and release anything that's stopping us from being fully present, any aggravations we might be carrying, any preoccupations or distractions. Let's try and lay them aside for an hour or so. And let's light a chalice, as we do each time we gather. This simple ritual connects us with Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists the world over, and it reminds us of the proudly progressive religious tradition of which this gathering is part. Poet Langston Hughes has written, "Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly." May this chalice flame challenge each of us to cherish our dreams, for all things worth doing begin in the courage and inspiration of a dream. For all this and all those things we dare to hope and dream, we kindle our chalice flame this day.
Please join me for our unison affirmation. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspirations. May we know once again that we are not isolated, but connected in wonder and joy to mystery and miracle in the universe, in this community, and in each other. Our first reading is from Magical Thinking by Colin Boson. The sign in the window pane of Kristen Baybar's toy shop in London reads, "We do not exist. But if you think we do and would like to visit, please knock." Knock I have. It is a strange and magical place filled with curios, dollhouse furnitures, and hand-carved toys. Every surface is covered, the cupboard display cases stacked high with miniature flowers, snapping tin alligators, painted puzzles that move, penny whistles, and cheap magic tricks. Signs proclaiming "Do not touch" suggest that this might not be a shop for small children. Yet, some of my fondest childhood memories are of Kristen Baybar's. For 3 summers, while my father taught a study abroad course, my family rented a flat around the corner. And every chance I got, I wandered over to the toy shop. The shop owner seemed to delight in entertaining small children. There were magic tricks and toys that made noises and puzzles. The shop and its owner taught me about the power of the imagination. Creative play, the ability to dream and discover new things, helps make us human. Without them, there would be no culture, no religion, no art, and no science. They help us to define and redefine the world. As William Shakespeare wrote, we are such stuff as dreams are made. My friend Richard defined magic as the act of imagining something and then creating it. He would say, "I think I'm hungry. I want a sandwich. I imagine it. Excuse me. And then I create it. Magic." Open yourself to the marvelous that surrounds you. Seek it out, if only for a moment. And you never know what sort of magic you might create. So much of the world began as a dream, and so much of the world has yet to be dreamed.
Thanks, Catherine. Time for us to sing together now. I'm not always sure what hymns we're going to have in common on either side of the Atlantic, but I'm fairly confident this is a fairly well-known one, as it's quite a classic, "Be Thou My Vision." The words have been somewhat Unitarianized, but the language is still quite traditional in a way that preserves the poetic beauty of the original hymn. The words will be up on screen for you to sing along at home with this recording by the Unitarian Music Society. Our next reading is by Harold Kushner and it's called Dream Boldly. I wonder what happens to dreams that don't come true. I wonder what happens to the dreamer. How do people cope with the realization that important dimensions of their lives will not turn out as they hoped they would? Many of us look at the world and see two groups of people, winners and losers, those who get what they want out of life and those who don't. But of course, in reality, life's more complicated than that. Nobody gets everything he, she, or they yearns for. I look at the world and see three sorts of people. Those who dream boldly, even as they realize a lot of their dreams will not come true. Those who dream more modestly and fear that even their modest dreams may not be realized. And those who are afraid to dream at all, lest they be disappointed. I would wish for more people who dreamed boldly and trusted their powers of resilience to see them through the inevitable disappointments of life. What does a person do with all the dreams that don't come true? Dreams of emerging talents, dreams of careers, dreams of wealth and recognition, dreams of marriage and family. Some people manage to hold on to the memories of those dreams without being weighed down by them, without letting their unfulfilled dreams define them as failures. They can cherish the memories of a time when they let their imagination soar, when they could imagine a more exciting, more gratifying life for themselves. Others let themselves be defined not by their dreams, but by their disappointments, perpetually frustrated by what they yearned for but never attained. For them, the broken pieces of their dreams are millstones rather than stepping stones. I've known too many people who lost the ability to dream after having their hearts broken. I've known too many parents who discouraged their children from dreaming, from aspiring too much, lest they be hurt when their dreams failed. And I'm convinced they would have done better to let their children dare to dream and assure them that when their dreams failed, they would have the strength and resiliency to go on with their lives despite the disappointment. From the first time I heard Judy Collins sing The Rose, I've been haunted by that line. It's the heart afraid of breaking that never learns to dance. It spoke to me of all the people whose lives have been derailed by one serious failure, people whose fondest hopes never worked out, and as a result, they lost the ability to hope, the courage to dream. I hate to think that experience will teach us not to dream, not to yearn for happiness or fulfillment. I want people to dare to dream, to be brave enough to dream, even as they realize that many of our dreams, they won't come true. For to dream is to imagine a world and a life better than the one we know now.
Our congregation is sustained by your generous gifts. You can donate using the donate page on your website or with PayPal, and the QR code for PayPal is in the weekly update. For the month of July, we are sharing our plate with the Ulster Immigrant Defence Network, whose mission is to provide a network of safety and support to immigrants, regardless of status, and whose vision is to create a society where everyone is welcome, respected, and safe. That's a wonderful dream. Your offering will now be gratefully received.
So we move now into an extended time of prayer and reflection. I like to give you a nice long meditative time to relax into. So there'll be about 5 minutes of guided prayer, which will lead into a minute or so of shared silence and stillness when I'll put a virtual chalice up on the screen in case you'd like something to look at. And to bring us out of the silence, we'll have about 4 minutes of gorgeous, soothing music from the trio. So let yourself sink in to about 10 minutes of meditative mood. You might want to shift your position to get comfortable. You might want to close your eyes or soften your gaze. Perhaps there's a posture that helps you to feel more prayerful. Whatever works for you, whatever helps you get into the right state of body and mind for us to pray together and to be fully present in this sacred time and space we're co-creating. Present with ourselves, each other, and that which is both within us and beyond us. Spirit of life, God of all love, in whom we live and move and have our being. As we turn our attention to the depths of this life, the cosmic mystery and wisdom that abides in all that is, we tune in to your presence, the light within and without. Be with us now as we allow ourselves to drop into the silence and stillness at the center of our being. Spirit of life, help us to be present with all that is our life, both our deepest sorrows and our greatest joys, so that we can truly live, engaging fully in our own life and in our community. Spirit of community, help us to know how linked we are, how each one of our cares touches all. Help us to ask for support when we're in need, and to offer support to others when we're able, so that we may rest in the solace of one another's love. Spirit of love, help us to love our neighbour as we love ourselves, so we might fully embody love and resist hatred in all its forms. Spirit of resistance, help us to stick up for what is right, even when we are tired or afraid. Help us to dream of the world as it should be and act to bring that world about. Help us to find hope each day. Spirit of hope, help us through this day and every day. Help us to be present for all that is our life. And in a time of quiet reflection now, let us look back with kind eyes over the week just past. Let's call to mind a few moments, however small they might seem, that brought some sense of uplift, consolation, or even joy. And let us pray inwardly to give thanks for these everyday blessings. Let us also gently call to mind those moments in the last week that we found hard going. Times when we felt uneasy, agitated, or disheartened. Times when we made mistakes, perhaps. Once again, let us pray inwardly for the comfort, compassion, or guidance we may need to face those struggles. widening our circle of concern now. Let's focus our prayers on those situations that are concerning us, whether close to home or far away. Let's think of those who are in pain this day, whether physical or mental, those who are caught up in conflict or cruelty, oppression or injustice, those who are perhaps struggling to make ends meet. Let's send loving kindness wherever it's most needed this day. Spirit of life, God of all love, as this time of prayer draws to a close, we offer up our hopes and our fears, our joys and concerns, our beauty and our brokenness. And we call on you for insight, healing and renewal. As we look forward to the coming week, help us to live well each day and be our best selves, using our unique gifts in the service of love, justice and peace. Amen. There had to be one tech hitch somewhere along the way. There's a famous quote that came to mind when I started pondering this topic of dreams. It's a stirring quote that's launched 1,000 feel-good memes and Instagram posts, and I'm sure it's one that regularly does the rounds with life coaches and inspirational speakers. These words are often and wrongly attributed to Goethe. Apparently they were first said by the Scottish mountaineer W.H. Murray instead, much less well known still. Whoever it was, he said, "Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, magic and power in it. Begin it now." These words are generally trotted out to urge people to commit themselves without hesitation to some purposeful action or another. But today, and this will be no surprise given the title of the service, today I want to focus more on the call to dream boldly. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it, Murray says. So what do we dream of, individually and collectively, for our personal lives, our communities, and even for the future of our planet? In these times of global turbulence, what do we still dare to dream? On any given day, many of us, perhaps most of us, might feel we haven't really got the oomph or the energy to dream boldly. Many of us are only just hanging on in there, coping with whatever life happens to have thrown at us on any given day, dedicating much of our energy, resources, and brain space to just getting by, keeping a roof over our head and a dinner on the table, keeping our chin up, surviving. We've endured blow after blow these last few years especially, and many of our aspirations for ourselves, our families, our communities, and our progressive calls have been repeatedly thwarted. Life is so hard for so many people in so many ways, and it can be tough to raise our eyes to the horizon. To dream boldly though. Depends what we mean by dreaming in the first place. When I hear that stirring quote from Murray, who, let's not forget, was a mountaineer, I think of a striving kind of dreaming, dreaming as an ambition for personal achievement. That's the sort of dreaming that gets you up mountains, across the finish line of a marathon, riding in the Tour de France, my personal obsession. It might spur you on to write the best-selling novel, build your business empire, or get your name up in lights in Broadway, with the right combination of genes, dedication, sacrifice, support, and sheer good luck. Still, all such endeavours start with a dream, a hopeful vision of some sort. There's a slightly different take on dreaming that I'd like to focus on this morning, though. That piece I just shared with you by Harold Kushner, Dream Boldly, it ends with the line, "To dream is to imagine a world and a life better than the one we know now." To dream is to imagine a world and a life better than the one we know now. Dreams are often born of frustration with reality, with the way that the world in general, or our own life in particular, is going right now. We dream of a future that's different and better than today. God knows there are more than enough reasons to be frustrated, if not despairing, with reality right now, as we look at what's going on all around the world in terms of the rolling back of those progressive values which we Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists have traditionally been so involved in promoting and defending. We see the erosion of human rights, the scapegoating of refugees and minorities, war, corruption and demagoguery all over the place. We see the interests of the super rich being furthered at the expense of the poorest and to the detriment of our planet, our one and only home. We know, don't we, that the common life, our common life, could be so much better than this. It doesn't have to be this way. To dream is to imagine a world and a life better than the one we know now. And perhaps the tougher our current circumstances, the bolder our imagined alternatives need to be. Of course, being able to dream boldly, to imagine some utopian vision for our world, a realm of justice and liberation, or even just a happy ever after scenario for ourselves personally, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get our way. But the dreaming might well be an important first step towards changing things for the better. Just having a vision of how things might be otherwise, that might galvanise us into action. Imagining a better world, a better life, that can inspire us to aim for goals that we once thought beyond us. And even if we don't end up achieving all that we'd personally hoped for, even if we fall short of our very boldest dreams, it is quite likely that we'll enrich our own life experience by trying, and perhaps even give the world a tiny nudge in a positive direction as we go about doing so. There are risks to being a dreamer, of course. There's the risk of being put down, discouraged, or dismissed by naysayers, by those who don't share your vision, or those who are actively invested in the status quo, or those who are sometimes just trying to protect you from the possibility of failure and scorn and disappointment. Such discouragement, even if it's kindly meant, can squash dreams, and it isn't always kindly meant. Boldness, a willingness to stand up, stand your ground, be courageous and face down naysayers in pursuit of your dreams. A certain boldness seems to be vital. Another risk involved in dreaming, though, is the possibility of going too far the other way, of becoming detached from reality and going beyond the realm of what's actually possible to achieve, of losing ourselves in a fantasy world of what ifs and delusions about some imagined future, without actually taking any practical steps towards bringing about the change we dream of. Perhaps the most likely risk involved in being a dreamer is the risk of disappointment. Indeed, that Harold Kushner reading came from a book called Overcoming Life's Disappointments. In the piece we just heard, he reflects on how we humans respond to the disappointing but unavoidable experience of having cherished dreams that ultimately don't come true. And he notes that for some of us, this leads us to close down, self-limiting our imagination, narrowing our horizons, no longer daring to dream boldly for fear of being hurt again. But later in the book, Kushner says this: broken dreams, broken hearts, hopes unrealized, they should not be seen as emblems of shame, badges of failure. If anything, they are tokens of courage. We were brave enough to dream, brave enough to long for so much. And when we did not get it, we were brave enough to carry the fragments of those hopes with us into the future, telling us who we used to be as a prelude to discovering who we might yet become. So these dreams, these longings, these hopes and desires, they might point to our truest self, our deepest purpose. They may give us hints, despite the setbacks we face along the way, hints about how to live. We don't always get what we dream of. But Kushner concludes, I would wish for more people who dreamed boldly and trusted their powers of resilience to see them through the inevitable disappointments. Something I've done for quite a few years now is to keep a list. It's a subcategory of my ever expanding and endless to-do list. There's a subcategory of that list that goes under the headings dreams and wishes. Every now and then I'll become aware of something that I've got a yearning to do or to get involved in, which for some reason or another doesn't seem quite within reach right now. But I don't want that dream just to fade away. So I park it on the to-do list so I don't forget. Some of the items on this dream list seem implausible or overambitious, and perhaps I'll never get round to them. Some of the dreams seem pretty modest, but time or money or resources prevent me from ticking them off the list anytime soon. However, acknowledging those dreams, naming them and writing them down seems to bring them at least one step closer to becoming reality. Even if it's just by preventing me from forgetting, it keeps the dreams safe and ready for the moment when perhaps the stars will align and I can take action to make these tentative aspirations reality. And there are a few I've managed to tick off the list in recent years. So I wonder what dreams you're secretly or not so secretly nurturing. I am hoping you've got a pen and paper or a journal or something on hand for this bit. I'm still pretty analog, but I've pre-prepared a little sheet of paper with some dream bubbles on it. I encourage you to do something similar on your page. Don't worry about artistic merit. But in those bubbles, I invite you to write down some of your dreams. This is just for you. I'm not going to ask you to share it, although you might want to share it with someone later on. Think of what Rabbi Harold Kushner said. To dream is to imagine a world and a life better than the one we know now. Imagine your life or the lives of your family and friends, your community, the world. Be as bold as you like. Imagine it just a little bit better than it is now in some concrete way that you can name and note down. If dreaming boldly seems a bit of a stretch this morning, you are allowed to dream modestly or even tentatively. If you need to take a bit of a run up at dreaming boldly, that is all right. But try and make sure that your sense of what's possible, of what you're even allowed to dream, try and make sure that's not been unduly constrained by social or political norms or by other people's lack of imagination. Dare to dream. And perhaps you could keep that bit of paper with you for the rest of the day, or perhaps for a few days, and keep adding to it as dreams bubble up, because I know I've not given you much of a chance to fill it in right now. So I'd like to bring this to a close with a blessing by Jean M. Olson. It's just right for those who dream boldly and who are sometimes disappointed, yet who are brave and resilient and dare to dream again anyway. She says, may you be brave enough to share your aching woundedness and reveal your vulnerability. May you speak your deepest truths, knowing that they will change as you do. May you sing the music within you, composing your own melody, playing your song with all your heart. May you draw, paint, dance, sculpt, and sew, showing the world your vision. May you write letters, poetry, biography, slogans, graffiti, the great novel, laying bare your words to love and hate. May you love, even though your heart breaks again and again. And to the end of your days, may your life be filled with possibilities and courage. May you always dare to dream. Amen. Time to sing again. One last hymn, We Have a Dream, based on the famous and stirring words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and proclaiming his dream of justice and equality for all people, perhaps the most famous dream of all. Once again, the words will be up on screen for you to sing along with the Unitarian Music Society. We have a dream.
Shall
We're about to extinguish this chalice flame, but its light will live on in the hearts and minds and souls of each and every one of us, calling us to lives of compassion, justice, and liberating love. Carry the flame with you as you leave this sacred gathering, and share it with those you know, with those you love, and those you've let to meet along the way. May it be so for the greater good of all. Amen.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.